Father, Messiah, and the Holy Spirit be with us. Joshua chapter 1. After the death of Moses, the servant of our Father in heaven, our Father spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant, saying, My servant Moses is dead. Now proceed to cross the Jordan, you and all this people, into the land that I am giving to them, to the Israelites. Every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, I have given to you, as I promised to Moses. From the wilderness and the Lebanon, as far as the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, to the great sea in the west shall be your territory. No one shall be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will not fail you or forsake you. Be strong and courageous, for you shall put this people in possession of the land that I swore to their ancestors to give them. Only be strong and very courageous, being careful to act in accordance with all the law that my servant Moses commanded you. Do not turn from it to the right hand or to the left, so that you may be successful wherever you go. The book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth. You shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to act in accordance with all that is written in it. For then you shall make your way prosperous, and then you shall be successful. I hereby command you, be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened or dismayed, for your Father in heaven, your God, is with you wherever you go. Then Joshua commanded the officers of the people, pass through the camp and command the people. Prepare your provisions, for in 3 days you are to cross over the Jordan, to go in to take possession of the land that our Father in heaven, your God, gives you to possess. To the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, Joshua said, Remember the word that Moses, the servant of our Father in heaven, commanded you, saying, Our Father, your God, is providing you a place of rest, and will give you this land. Your wives, your little ones, and your livestock shall remain in the land that Moses gave you beyond the Jordan. But all the warriors among you shall cross over armed before your kindred, and shall help them, until our Father in heaven gives rest to your kindred as well as to you, and they too take possession of the land that our Father your God is giving them. Then you shall return to your own land and take possession of it, the land that Moses, the servant of our father, gave you beyond the Jordan to the east. They answered Joshua, All that you have commanded us, we will do, and wherever you send us, we will go. Just as we obeyed Moses in all things, so we will obey you. Only may our Father in heaven, your God, be with you as he was with Moses. Whoever rebels against your orders and disobeys your words, whatever you command, shall be put to death. Only be strong and courageous. Chapter 2. Then Joshua, son of Nun, sent 2 men secretly from Shittim as spies, saying, Go view the land, especially Jericho. So they went and entered the house of a prostitute whose name was Rahab, and spent the night there. The king of Jericho was told, Some Israelites have come here tonight to search out the land. Then the king of Jericho sent orders to Rahab, Bring out the men who have come to you, who entered your house, for they have come only to search out the whole land. But the woman took the 2 men and hid them. Then she said, True, the men came to me, but I did not know where they came from. And when it was time to close the gate at dark, the men went out. Where the men went, I do not know. Pursue them quickly, for you can overtake them. She had, however, brought them up to the roof and hidden them with the stalks of flax that she had laid out on the roof. So the men pursued them on the way to the Jordan as far as the fords. As soon as the pursuers had gone out, the gate was shut. Before they went to sleep, she came up to them on the roof and said to the men, I know that our Father in heaven has given you the land, and that dread of you has fallen on us, and that all the inhabitants of the land melt in fear before you. For we have heard how our Father in heaven dried up the water of the Red Sea before you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the two kings of the Amorites that were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. As soon as we heard it, our hearts melted, and there was no courage left in any of us because of you. Our Father in heaven, your God, is indeed God in heaven above and on earth below. Now then, since I have dealt kindly with you, swear to me by our Father in heaven that you in turn will deal kindly with my family. Give me a sign of good faith that you will spare my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, and deliver our lives from death. The men said to her, our life for yours. If you do not tell this business of ours, then we will deal kindly and faithfully with you when our Father in heaven gives us the land. Then she let them down by a rope through the window, for her house was on the outer side of the city wall, and she resided within the wall itself. She said to them, go toward the hill country, so that the pursuers may not come upon you. Hide yourselves there 3 days, until the pursuers have returned. Then afterward you may go your way. The men said to her, we will be released from this oath that you have made us swear to you if we invade the land and you do not tie this crimson cord in the window through which you let us down, and you do not gather into your house your father and mother, your brothers, and all your family. If any of you go out the doors of your house into the street, they shall be responsible for their own death, and we shall be innocent. But if a hand is laid upon any who are with you in the house, we shall bear the responsibility for their death. But if you tell this business of ours, then we shall be released from this oath that you made us swear to you. She said, according to your words, so be it. She sent them away, and they departed. Then she tied the crimson cord in the window. They departed and went into the hill country and stayed there 3 days, until the pursuers returned. The pursuers had searched all along the way and found nothing. Then the two men came down again from the hill country. They crossed over, came to Joshua son of Nun, and told him all that had happened to them. They said to Joshua, truly, our Father in heaven has given all the land into our hands. Moreover, all the inhabitants of the land melt in fear before us. Chapter 3. Early in the morning, Joshua rose and set out from Shittim with all the Israelites, and they came to the Jordan. They camped there before crossing over. At the end of 3 days, the officers went through the camp and commanded the people, when you see the ark of the covenant of our Father in heaven your God being carried by the Levitical priest, then you shall set out from your place. Follow it, so that you may know the way you should go, for you have not passed this way before. Yet there shall be a space between you and it, a distance of about 2,000 cubits. Do not come any nearer to it. Then Joshua said to the people, sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow our Father in heaven will do wonders among you. To the priests Joshua said, take up the ark of the covenant and pass on it in front of the people. So they took up the ark of the covenant and went in front of the people. Our Father in heaven said to Joshua, this day I will begin to exalt you in the sight of all Israel, so that they may know that I will be with you as I was with Moses. You are the one who shall command the priests who bear the ark of the covenant. When you come to the edge of the waters of the Jordan, you shall stand still in the Jordan. Joshua then said to the Israelites, draw near and hear the words of our Father in heaven, your God. Joshua said, by this you shall know that among you is the living God, who without fail will drive out from before you the Canaanites, Hittites, Hivites, Perizzites, Girgashites, Amorites, and Jebusites. The ark of our Father in heaven of all the earth is going to pass before you into the Jordan. So now select 12 men from the tribes of Israel, one from each tribe. When the soles of the feet of the priests who bear the ark of our Father the Father of all the earth, rest in the waters of the Jordan. The waters of the Jordan flowing from above shall be cut off. They shall stand in a single heap. When the people set out from their tents to cross over the Jordan, the priests bearing the Ark of the Covenant were in front of the people. Now the Jordan overflows all its banks throughout the time of harvest. So when those who bore the ark had come to the Jordan, and the feet of the priests bearing the ark were dipped in the edge of the waters flowing from above stood still, rising up in a single heap far off at Adam, the city that is beside Zarethan, while those flowing toward the sea of Arabah, the Dead Sea, were wholly cut off. Then the people crossed over opposite Jericho, while all Israel were crossing over on dry ground. The priest who bore the ark of the covenant of our father stood on dry ground in the middle of the Jordan, until the entire nation finished crossing over the Jordan. Chapter 4. When the entire nation had finished crossing over the Jordan, our father said to Joshua, "Select 12 men from the people, one from each tribe, and command them. Take 12 sons from here out of the middle of the Jordan, from the place where the priest's feet stood. Carry them over with you and lay them down in the place where you camp tonight." Then Joshua summoned the 12 men from the Israelites whom he had appointed, one from each tribe. Joshua said to them, "Pass on before the ark of our Father in heaven your God into the middle of the Jordan, and each of you take up a stone on his shoulder, one for each of the tribes of the Israelites, so that this may be a sign among you. When your children ask in time to come, 'What do those stones mean to you?' then you shall tell them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off in front of the ark of the covenant of our father. When it crossed over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. So these stones shall be to the Israelites a memorial forever." The Israelites did as Joshua commanded. They took up 12 stones out of the middle of the Jordan, according to the number of the tribes of the Israelites, as our Father in heaven told Joshua, carried them over with them to the place where they camped, and laid them down there. Joshua set up 12 stones in the middle of the Jordan, in the place where the feet of the priests bearing the Ark of the Covenant had stood, and they are there to this day. The priest who bore the ark remained standing in the middle of the Jordan until everything was finished that our Father in heaven commanded Joshua to tell the people, according to all that Moses had commanded Joshua. The people crossed over in haste. As soon as all the people have finished crossing over, the ark of our Father in heaven and the priests cross over in front of the people. The Reubenites, the Gadites, and half the tribe of Manasseh crossed over armed before the Israelites as Moses had ordered them. About 40,000 armed for war crossed over before our Father in heaven to the plains of Jericho for battle. On that day, our Father in heaven exalted Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they stood in awe of him, as they had stood in awe of Moses all the days of his life. Our Father in heaven said to Joshua, "Command the priest who bear the ark of the covenant to come up out of the Jordan." Joshua therefore commanded the priest, "Come up out of the Jordan." When the priest bearing the ark of the covenant of our father came up from the middle of the Jordan, and the soles of the priest's feet touched dry ground, the waters of the Jordan returned to their place and overflowed all its banks as before. The people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month, and they camped in Gilgal on the east border of Jericho. Those 12 stones which they had taken out of the Jordan, Joshua set up in Gilgal, saying to the Israelites, "When your children ask their parents in time to come, 'What do these stones mean?' then you shall let your children know, Israel crossed over the Jordan here on dry ground. For our Father in heaven, your God, dried up the waters of the Jordan for you until you crossed over, as our Father in heaven, your God, did to the Red Sea, which he dried up for us until we crossed over, so that all the peoples of the earth may know that the hand of our Father is mighty, and so that you may fear our Father in heaven, your God, forever. Excuse me. When all the kings of the Amorites chapter 5. When all the kings of the Amorites beyond the Jordan to the west, and all the kings of the Canaanites by the sea, heard that our Father in heaven had dried up the waters of the Jordan for the Israelites until they had crossed over, their hearts melted, and there was no longer any spirit in them because of the Israelites. At that time our Father said to Joshua, make flint knives and circumcise the Israelites a second time. So Joshua made flint knives and circumcised the Israelites at Gibeath Ha'araloth. This is the reason why Joshua circumcised them. All the males of the people who came out of Egypt, all the warriors, had died during the journey through the wilderness after they had come out of Egypt. Although all the people who came out of Egypt had been circumcised, yet all the people born on the journey through the wilderness after they had come out of Egypt had not been circumcised. For the Israelites traveled 40 years in the wilderness until all the nation, the warriors who came out of Egypt, perished, not having listened to the voice of our Father in heaven. To them our Father in heaven swore that he would not let them see the land that he had sworn to their ancestors to give us, a land flowing with milk and honey. So it was their children whom he raised up in their place that Joshua circumcised. For they were uncircumcised because they had not been circumcised on the way. When the circumcising of all the nation was done, they remained in their places in the camp until they were healed. Our Father in heaven said to Joshua, today I have rolled away from you the disgrace of Egypt. And so that place is called Gilgal to this day. When the Israelites were camped in Gilgal, they kept the Passover in the evening on the 14th day of the month in the plains of Jericho. On the day after the Passover, on that very day, they ate the produce of the land, unleavened cakes and parched grain. The manna ceased on the day they ate the produce of the land, and the Israelites no longer had manna. They ate the crops of the land of Canaan that year. Once when Joshua was by Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing before him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua went to him and said, are you one of us, or one of our adversaries? He replied, neither. But as a commander of the army of our Father in heaven, I have now come. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshipped. And he said to him, what do you command your servant, my king? The commander of the army of our father said to Joshua, remove the sandals from your feet, for the place where you stand is holy. And Joshua did so. Chapter 6. Now Jericho was shut up inside and out because of the Israelites. No one came out and no one went in. Our Father in heaven said to Joshua, see, I have handed Jericho over to you, along with its king and soldiers. You shall march around the city, all the warriors circling the city once. Thus you shall do for 6 days, with 7 priests bearing 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. On the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, the priests blowing the trumpets. When they make a long blast with the ram's horn, as soon as you hear the sound of the trumpet, then all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat, and all the people shall charge straight ahead. So Joshua, son of Nun, summoned the priests and said to them, take up the ark of the covenant and have 7 priests carry 7 trumpets of ram's horns in front of the ark of our Father. To the people he said, go forward and march around the city. Have the armed men pass on before the ark of our Father. As Joshua had commanded the people, the 7 priests carrying the 7 trumpets of ram's horn before our Father went forward, blowing the trumpets, with the ark of the covenant of our Father following them. And the armed men went before the priests who blew the trumpets. The rear guard came after the ark, while the trumpets blew continually. To the people Joshua gave this command, you shall not shout or let your voice be heard, nor shall you utter a word until the day I tell you to shout. Then you shall shout. So the ark of our Father in heaven went around the city, circling it once, and they came into the camp and spent the night in the camp. Then Joshua arose in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of our father. The 7 priests carrying the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of our father passed on, blowing the trumpets continually. The armed men went before them, and the rear guard came after the ark of our father, while the trumpets blew continually. On the 2nd day they marched around the city once, and then returned to the camp. They did this for 6 days. On the 7th day they rose early at dawn, and marched around the city in the same manner 7 times. It was on that day that they had marched around the city 7 times. And at the 7th time, when the priests had blown the trumpets, Joshua said to the people, "Shout, for our Father in heaven has given you the city. The city and all that is in it shall be devoted to our Father in heaven for destruction. Only Rahab the prostitute and all who were with her in her house shall live, because she hid the messengers we sent. As for you, keep away from the things devoted to destruction, so as not to covet and take any of the devoted things and make the camp of Israel an object of destruction, bringing trouble upon it. But all silver and gold and vessels of bronze and iron are sacred to our Father in heaven. They shall go into the treasury of our Father." So the people shouted, and the trumpets were blown. As soon as the people heard the sound of the trumpets, they raised a great shout, and the wall fell down flat. So the people charged straight ahead into the city and captured it. Then they devoted the destruction by the edge of the sword, all in the city, both men and women, young and old, ox, sheep, and donkeys. Joshua said to the 2 men who had spied out the land, "Go into the prostitute's house and bring the woman out of it and all who belong to her, as you swore to her." So the young men who had been spies went in and brought Rahab out, along with her father, her mother, her brothers, and all who belonged to her. They brought all her kindred out and set them outside the camp of Israel. They burned down the city and everything in it. Only the silver and gold and the vessels of bronze and iron they put into the treasury of the house of our father. But Rahab the prostitute with her family and all who belonged to her, Joshua spared. Her family has lived in Israel ever since, for she hid the messengers of Joshua, whom Joshua sent to spy out Jericho. Joshua then pronounced this oath, saying, "Cursed before our Father in heaven be anyone who tries to build this city, this Jericho. At the cost of his firstborn he shall lay its foundation, and at the cost of his youngest he shall set up its gates." So our Father in heaven was with Joshua, and his fame was in all the land. Father willing, we will continue with Joshua chapter 7. May our Father, Messiah, and the Holy Spirit be with us. Repent, the kingdom of heaven is near. Peace.